What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of QTPtutorial.net. I'm so excited to have you guys here today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for dedicating some of your time to me and listening to what I have to offer. Today, I want to teach you guys something that very few people learn and very few people teach, and that is an efficient automation folder structure. Don't ask me why people don't teach it, and don't ask me why people don't discuss it very often, but it is something that is extremely important. Whether you're using it for your automation skills or whether you're using it for general file system upkeep in your computer, it's very important, and let me tell you guys why. So let's see some benefits. Number one is that it helps to locate files quickly. Now think about it this way. You've been an automation engineer, maybe even for like minimum 2 years. You probably have thousands upon thousands of files. You've created so many Excel templates. You have a whole bunch of XML files, environmental variable files, driver scripts, object repositories. If you don't have an efficient folder structure, you're going to be extremely lost. I mean, I'm sure you'll probably be able to locate your files at some point. But can you imagine trying to go back 1 year to recover a script that you know contains some really good functions that you need to utilize in your script that you're about to develop and you can't find it? It's a nightmare scenario. And let's be honest, you as an automation engineer or as a future automation engineer, what you get paid for is developing scripts. You don't get paid for looking for files and folders. You don't get paid for locating things. You get paid when you sit in front of a screen and you develop code to automate an application. That's your money time. So think, the more efficient you can be in locating your files, the more time you can spend automating, the more time you can spend developing code, the more time you can spend becoming a better automation engineer. Overall, this folder structure is what will help you get there. So you can think of this folder structure. Is it going to be a framework? It's a framework that you apply to all your future projects. Let me mention the second point, in that an efficient folder structure helps save time in execution, modification, and creation of tests and test assets. This right here is pretty much an automation engineer's job in a few words. And if it helps you save time there, it's making you that much more efficient. And finally, it's very easy to apply the folder structure across all projects. So this just expands on what I was talking about. If you have even been an automation engineer for a few years, you've worked on multiple projects, you've developed multiple applications, and so you have so many files. And when you don't have to think about where your files go, because you have a framework laid out, this framework of the folder structure, if it's ready, if it's in your brain implanted, and you know that, let's say you're going to create a Mercury source project and you need to create so many test scripts for it. Now you can easily just lay out that folder structure for Mercury source project, and now you can continue work on it. You don't even have to think about it. But some people have not learned the skill, and so every time they have to develop a new folder structure and they have to remove the files and they have to rename things and so on and so forth. Let's keep away from that and let's just stick to automation, the thing that we want to do the best, right? So, before we get started, I want to take a quick look at our favorite application, Mercury Tours. So, let me go ahead and show you guys how to get that open. If you have QTP installed, you'll also have this available. You can go to Start, and then you just need to find, HP Quick Test Professional. Here it is. and then you can go to sample applications and click on Mercury Tours website sample application, whatever you want to call it. I really hope you guys get familiar with this website, because I'm going to do a lot of work with it. And I just want you to imagine that this is an application that is being built by your company. And most of the time, it's not going to come out in one piece. I mean, sometimes, there's waterfall methodology where you may get one version out just like this. And of course, it'll probably look a lot worse than this. But you may get something out and then they would say, hey, there it is, go test it. But a lot of times you would probably get this in pieces. So for example, you need to think of this as modules. So first, you may get this, homepage. After you get this homepage, you may get a flights page. And this is where you can click on flights, and I guess it doesn't do too much here. Also, you may click on hotels. Now that's another module. And hotels is obviously under construction. So you may get some requirements that say, hey, hotels is going to do this, is going to do that. And you're going to need to prepare yourself, prepare your scripts so that you can automate everything. So if you think of each of these as modules, home, flights, hotels, car rentals, cruises, and so on, and we need to think of them as pieces that are going to come out one by one. And that will help you to visualize the folder structure a lot better, okay? But overall, this whole project is Mercury Tours, because this is our application. Now, let's say you finished Mercury Tours and you're still working for the same company. You may now start working on an application called Google.com. Then you may start working on an application called Yahoo.com. Then you may get Facebook, Twitter, and so on. And so you can imagine all of the files and folders that are required to deal with all of that. And so that's why I'm here, to help you lay out a folder structure framework to deal with any of those situations and help make your life as an automation engineer that much easier. So anyways, let's go back here and I'll help lay out for you guys the folder structure so that you can have a better understanding and you can apply it to your own life. Today we're going to be discussing file system folder structure. Beyond this, I also want to discuss with you guys QC/ALM, which is the new version of QC now, that folder structure as well, because a lot of times all of your automation assets will be stored in there. And although the folder structure is very similar, it differs a little bit. And I'll discuss that with you as well. But right now, let's just worry about your file system, your computer. Okay? So inside of your file system, you may have something like a QTP folder. This would be the main parent. And inside of that main parent, you're going to have a project folder. So if we're speaking about Mercury Tours application, we're going to have Mercury Tours. Okay? Now, this is our project. So everything else that we're going to discuss here is going to go inside of our project. In fact, let me write this out for you guys. This is the project level. Okay? Let's say you worked on another project, and that project was called Google. Okay? Another project level. If you worked on another project, you may have Hotmail, and so on and so forth. But let me deal with Mercury Tours. So inside Mercury Tours, we're going to have two levels. The first level we're going to call common. And let me tell you why I put an underscore here. I put an underscore here because a lot of times the file systems will move these kinds of folders at the top. And I'll actually exemplify this for you guys later with actual folder structure, just to show you. But it's very cool to see this at the top, plus its other sibling folder, which is actually going to be modules. Okay? So now these two folders will be right at the very top, and it's very helpful, just in case you decide to put any other kind of folders in Mercury Tours. So now we have our two siblings. We have the common folder and the modules folder. Now, what is the common folder? This folder contains anything relevant to the entire project. And the modules folder contains anything relevant to a module inside of that project. So let me specify this for you guys. The common folder, relevant to Mercury Tours. So anything we put in there should be relevant to the whole Mercury Tours application. Now, if we're speaking at the modules level, like flights or home or registration from the application, we will put data in there, or files, folders, and so on, that is only relevant to that specific module. I'll expand on this a little bit later, but let me continue. And don't worry, if you're confused, everything will get cleared up as we progress. So, inside of the common level, there are going to be 6 folders, and that's it. We're going to have function libraries. We're going to have object repositories. We're going to have data. We're going to have documentation, scripts, and execution files. In the common folder, you have these 6 folders, okay? And let me make this really easy for you guys. And I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it right there. Now, at the modules level, you have the same folders. That's it. It's very simple. But the only thing that gets a little bit more complex with the modules is that they may be broken up. So let me open up the application again. So let's say we have a home module, a flights module, and a hotels module. Okay? So this modules level is going to get broken up a little bit. We're going to have a home. We're going to have a flights. And we are going to have a hotels. Okay? So now let me fix this for you guys. All these folders here, and so on and so forth. Okay? So now let's take a look at this folder structure. At some level, like the common level, we have 6 folders: function libraries, OR, data, documentation, scripts, and execution files. At the modules level, if we have anything specific to the home module, we're going to have function libraries, OR, data, documentation, and scripts. If we have anything specific to the flights module, we're going to have the same folders. If you have anything specific to the hotels module, same folders, and so on and so forth. And the awesome thing is, that's it. That's your folder structure right there. Of course, I'm going to expand on it. I'm going to explain everything to you guys. But now imagine you moved on to Google application. Same thing. Lay out that folder structure here. Apply it just to Google. And that's it. You guys are good to go. No need to worry about where your files go. No need to worry about folder structures. You're organized. Just go ahead and do your scripting. But so, let me expand a little bit more on these folder structures. So you may be sitting here and wondering, what the heck goes in these folders? Okay, well, let me tell you. What goes in this folder? Well, it's going to be functions that are project level specific. In this case, it's Mercury Tour specific. Okay? And that means that a function that's project level specific, aka Mercury Tour specific, is applicable to this whole folder. Do you understand? So this may be a function like create date. You may apply this function to anywhere here, and it doesn't matter what module you're in. This function will be able to execute whatever it needs to execute there accordingly. I hope that makes sense. We'll get into naming structure of functions a little bit later, but for now, I just want to explain the folder structure better to you guys. Now, what about this? What goes in this folder? Well, in here, we got any object repository that is project level specific. So in this case, it's actually kind of easy because the Mercury Tours application is super small. So all the objects, you may put them into one object repository called mercurytours.qfl. mercurytours.qfl. And then you can apply it to the whole project. But trust me, I've dealt with some humongous applications that on their own, they take months to develop and months, weeks to test. So when they're all combined together, you get a ginormous monster of an application that could never be tested by itself. It needs to be tested in pieces, little by little. And so at that point, you probably would never have a humongous object repository because it may contain thousands upon thousands of objects. Trying to sort through all of them is going to be a huge pain. So, what about the data folder? What goes in here? Well, the data folder will have any data that is specific to the project level. So for example, what does this mean? Any data files from Excel. It may also mean environmental variables. XML files. Okay? What other data you may put in there is screenshots. Anything data related. Documentation folder. Now, what goes in here? In here, documentation that is related to the project level. I hope you guys are catching the simplicity here, in that everything in here is project related. It is related to the whole Mercury Tours application. And if you want to apply anything from here, you may apply it all across all modules because they all fall under the Mercury Tours project. So, let's continue. You may think, well, what is documentation? Well, a lot of times, what many people do not teach is that you will have to transfer your scripts to a manual tester. And the manual tester is going to have to execute your scripts for you. And how do you teach him how to execute your scripts? Well, let me tell you that the best way is documentation. So you may have things like PDFs, docs, PowerPoints to represent the instructions on how to use your script. Yes, it's crazy. You have to write user guides on how to use your scripts, but it's what you have to do. Because trust me, if you're extremely busy scripting and somebody comes to you and wants to run one of your scripts, you're not going to have the time to show them. All you have to do is point them to your documentation, and hopefully it's up to date, and then they will just follow your instructions and execute your scripts, hopefully seamlessly. But we all know that in the real world, it's never as perfect as it may seem on the document. So let me just elaborate here a little bit more. And just remember, guys, all notes are available for you guys in high quality format, qtptutorial.net. You may get these notes anytime. So this is user guides or documents on usage of scripts and other aspects. Sure, let's say that. Okay, so what about in scripts folder? Well, that should be pretty obvious. We got the script, right? I'm not going to elaborate too much in here. We just have Mercury Tour scripts going in here. Okay? And finally, I am sure that a lot of you are probably confused about this folder right here, execution files. What is this and what goes in here? Well, let me tell you. Continuing on the story about manual testers executing your scripts, you want to make their life as simple as possible. I like to envision an automation engineer as a developer who is making small applications for the manual testers. You're putting them out very quickly, efficiently, but you still have a user. You still have somebody that is not very knowledgeable and to whom you need to explain everything. And so these execution files are a way to make quick shortcuts to launch a script. Rather than having a manual tester, going to QTP, opening it up, locating a script, and then running it, and in the process they may break something. You can just have an execution file like VBS files or BAT files and so on and so forth to execute your script. It's a simple double click and your script runs. So here we got files to quickly execute your scripts. Useful for batch running and night jobs as well. I hope that I've laid out the folder structure to you guys pretty well and you understand what's going on so far. So at the modules level, if we remember, we have the same exact folder structure as there was in the project level with all the same 6 folders, which includes all of these. Now, let's just keep remembering that everything in the modules level contains anything relevant to a module inside of that project. So our project is Mercury Tours, and inside of the project we have different modules. We have the home module, flights module, hotels module, and so on and so forth. The only difference here at the modules level is what's inside of the data folder. So let me explain that to you guys. Inside of the data folder at the modules level, what do we have? We have the same thing, but here you're going to need to differentiate by script names. So for example, you have script 1, you're going to have script name 2, you're going to have script name 3, and so on and so forth. Now you may be wondering, why should I have my data folder separated by script names? Well, let me explain to you. It's because sometimes if your module is big enough, for example at the home level, you may have 50 scripts for the home application. And if you have 50 scripts, That probably means you might have a data file associated with each one, but you may also have 2 or 3 data files. So can you imagine you have 100, 150, 200 data files in one folder for one module? Trying to sort through all of that and find the right data file is extremely annoying. And so if you have it organized by script name, it's much easier to attach all of your data associated to that script into the folder. So, for example, in here, all data associated to script will be in this folder. Okay? So this would be anything like data files.xls. It could be environmental variables.xml. You can even put in your screenshots in here. Results files. Okay? I hope that clears it up for you guys. But overall, the folder structure, I believe it's pretty simple and efficient. And as soon as you start applying it to your computer system, it will make your life that much easier, and it will make you that much better of an automation engineer. So to wrap things up here on the file system folder structure, I actually want to go ahead and create it for you guys so that you have a better visual understanding of what's going on. Here I got the file system up. Just so you're clear, I am connected to 2 screens, and therefore I just dragged this system over. That's why you didn't see the process. But anyways, I'm sure all of you know how to open up your computer file system. So let's go to C, and I already have a QTP folder created here for my previous projects, but so let me create something unique for us for our teaching purposes, and I'm going to use this folder from now on, and I'm going to call it QTP tutorial_net. Okay, so for you guys, this would be the QTP folder. Since I already have one and I don't want to mix my projects up in my QTP folder, I'm going to keep you guys in here. So in here, we go in and we create 2 levels. What are those 2 levels? Well, we got the project level, and our project level is really going to be Mercury Tours. And another thing, some of you may not know, a very good convention to follow is to avoid leaving spaces in any of your naming files. Many times it will cause you errors. You know, sometimes you may add an extra space here, an extra space there. Sometimes you may forget a space, and spaces are a very well-known problem to many people doing programming or scripting or automation. So a good convention to follow for you, just for the rest of your automation career, is to avoid placing spaces whenever you're giving names to anything. So anyways, we got project level. So in here we'll go in and we'll create 2 other levels, right? At the project level, we're going to have a common folder, and then we're going to have a modules folder. Okay? So at the common level, what are the folders we're going to create? We're going to create OR, function, let me do 1, 2, data, scripts, execution files, documentation. Okay? Very simple. And now in here, you're just going to place your associated files. Let me go ahead and copy all of these. And I'm going to go back 1 level to the modules. And let me create a folder in here. we are going to call it home. Okay, and inside of the home folder, I'm going to paste all of these folders. Boom, very simple. Okay, go back one level. Let's create another folder. I am going to name this folder flights. And then here, again, paste all of the folders. Okay? I hope this is making sense to you guys. And finally, the only modification I need to make to the data folder of the modules level is when I start putting scripts in here, I'm going to have script name 1, name 2, and so on and so forth. And then all of the data in these folders here will be associated to the script at the modules level. So let me give you guys a quick overview before we wrap up here. So here we have the Mercury Tours folder. This is the project level. This is our project that we're going to be working on. If I go in that folder, we're going to have two siblings in there. We have the common folder and we have the modules folder. Okay? In the common folder, we have these 6 folders where the appropriate stuff, as I mentioned before, is going to go in there. Okay? Let me go back one level and we're going to go to the modules folder. Again, anything relevant to a module. And here we have 2 folders called home and flights, because these will have everything relevant to either the home module or the flights module. Okay? So let's go in the home folder. And again, we have our 6 folders. And the only difference between here and the project level is that in the data folder, you have to be script specific. And I think I showed you guys that in this folder. Here it is, script specific. And that's it. Everything else is always the same. A new project, same folder structure, just name it accordingly based on your modules and based on your project. That's it. You never have to think, and you will always be able to locate your files quickly and easily, leaving you with more time for your automation skills. Okay, guys, so this is the file system folder structure. I think I'm going to wrap it up here today because I had no idea that I have so much to say about the file system folder structure. And as I told you before, I also wanted to get to the QC ALM folder structure, and I think we will get to that in another part. I think after this, I want to talk to you guys about naming conventions and how to place files and folders into this organization structure. And then we'll also discuss QC and ALM folder structure, hopefully in the next video. I would love any feedback from you guys. Any comments, questions, just please leave them for the video. I wanted to thank you guys so much for, again, taking time to sit here and view my videos. I sincerely appreciate it. And I also hope that it was very helpful for you. And just remember that any high quality notes and scripts are available for premium members on my site. And if you want any more videos, please subscribe to our channel, and you can get a lot more information at qtptutorial.net. Thanks, guys, again for tuning in. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.